Her name is Leslie.
That's right. That's how I say
You
it.
have to say it like that. And I asked her about her fun fact, and I was like, she's got to have a good fun fact. And she painted her shoes by herself, so you have to check them out. They are South Park.
South Park.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Street.
South Park.
You can
Cool, thank you. Good morning,
Morning.
and thank you for letting me take some of your time. I appreciate it. You know, I just have to be smarter than Zoom. It doesn't happen very often. See that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. My name is Debbie Sue. Thank you so much for coming to this event, if you will, because it's brand new for me. So I'm still. All right, so here's why I'm here, you guys. I think that I have a really good new business idea, and I want.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, ma'am, I can speak up. Absolutely. No, I'm here to offer a new business idea, and I'm here to get your feedback to help me try to figure out what I'm doing right, what I'm not doing well. And then I'm also here to build some relationships, hopefully, and some network opportunities. So the reason I'm here is I have come up with Biscuit Bay Board and Train. I know there's a billion board and trains out there, blah, 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 but I'm different. Why? Because we control the noise. Have you ever been in a kennel? They have like noise everywhere and it's just barking. That's not going to happen here. Legal form, and our name is Biscuit Bay Board and Train. I already have the basic stuff set up. I filed the LLC. I have all the websites, etc. The mission is really to provide quality care for dogs while maintaining compassion and safety with our boarding practices. Sorry, it's hard to see with this thing. Is that better? Okay. Some of the specialty service, some of the specialty services that I plan on offering is pick up and drop off. So if you have like an emergency situation where you have to leave, I can come get your dog for you. You don't have to worry about picking them up. We'll also do emergency boarding. So in that case, if you didn't necessarily have your papers, but in like family emergency or something like that, we can come and take care of you. 24 hours is also what we're going to do. So most doggy daycares have openings like 7 or 8 by the time you have to drop your dog off, right? At my place, you can drop your dog off anytime. So the rates are done more like an hourly rate or a daily rate. And then we're also going to try to have dog aquatics and canine fitness training. Yes, that exists. It's crazy. Okay. The main thing that I want to focus on is peace of mind for the owners, but peaceful boarding for the dogs. So my setting is not a row of kennels, it's a row of rooms in a centralized location. I also have an idea to decentralize, which I'll get to in a minute. Hopefully I'm making sense. But we want client-focused personal care. I also am able to offer training for reactive canines, whether it's towards people or other dogs, and then again, emergency transportation. So lately, dog adoptions have just gone through the roof. Boarding is also an $8.4 billion industry. I had no idea until I started researching this. There's a steady growth rate of 2.1% since 2016. And with training, there's expected to be a 6% growth rate in the next 5 years. So although it's not huge, it's definitely an opportunity. Products and pricing, we only have 15 boarding rooms in Colorado. There are some regulations which I'll get to. And then the only time I'll have multiple dogs in one room is if they're with the same family. And that would be a maximum of 3 dogs. Clients are always responsible for food, toys, treats, medications. And if your dog has any sort of medication, it's strictly followed. We don't waver from it. We don't change anything, even if you ask us to. Daycare for boarded dogs would be built into the nightly fee. The boarding price is only $80 a night, $10 charge for additional dogs and family. Emergency boarding fees are individually based, and that would be on a case-by-case that should say basis, not business. I apologize. And then we have a daycare standalone service where we could have up to 50 dogs, and those would be 35 per day. With training is essentially something that I'm going to outsource. My partner has been a trainer for 22 years. So we have a lot of resources in that environment. But everything is customized. It's not like you can just bring your dog into a doggy class and think that we're going to train it for 2 seconds and then you're going to go home and have a perfect dog. That's not the way it works. We really want to integrate the client and the dog. So all that those pricing would again vary based on needs. This was our option one, which would be like buy land and build out a centralized location. And then my problem is finding somewhere that's zoned appropriately. That's kind of hard. And also there's only like 4% of land in Weld County currently up for sale. So that makes it difficult. The other idea I had is to buy houses within neighborhoods. Now, this would change the dynamic a little bit. My price would go up, but I would be subject to the county and HOA limitations. So I could have like 4 or 5 dogs, right? But the whole house is for dogs. It's made for dogs, but it's also controlled. So you don't have barking all the time. You don't have this, I'm not going to disturb your neighborhood. I actually want to come in and be a partner in, that's one idea. That's an idea I need feedback on, guys, because I don't know. That's what I thought. All right. Some of our competitive advantages, again, relationship-focused training, noise control is a big one, and then hours of operation and the emergency services. I'm going to let you take a look at this. It's pretty basic, online. And then I'd like to do community partnerships, maybe partner with different companies with their marketing on like my fences or balls or whatever we can do. There are a few regulations and I'm down to time, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I did do all the funds. I have all the financials. Oops. So those highlighted numbers kind of just give you an overview of what we've done, what we've figured out. And then again, I went through the competitive advantages. And I don't know if you notice the glitter. This is just the best picture. It's really, that's key in this whole presentation. I want you to notice that. Okay. And then of course that we have our growth strategy and our exit plan. If we're good, we keep going and then we sell. And if we don't, then we sell everything off. Ta-da!
6:46 if you can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
All right, do you want to go back to your ask slide for us?
Is that the first one, like what I wanted?
Yes. All right, who wants to get us kicked off with some feedback for WC? Mike.
So I have to tell you, this is the first time I've seen failure in the exit. I'm not sure I like it or don't like it. Because I'm not sure I would call it failure. Because the things you list really get you out without much damage. Okay. And so I like it because it shows that you're looking at the risk. But as an investor, if I was an investor, I would not call it failure.
Thank you.
Put it that way.
Words matter.
Yeah.
We've got Allison online here.
Hi, thanks for presenting today. So could you go to, I think it was the slide with your financials or the one right before it? Okay, and what's this one? Yeah, and what's the one after it?
There were only these two,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay, yeah. So what is your, like, what are your various revenue streams? Is it just the dog sitting and the training?
Initially, yes. But I think that I can also build out, like if I have a house, I can bake biscuits and sell them biscuit day, right? I think there are a lot of avenues I could go. I think there's another slide down here where we talk about, sorry, I took some out. Oh, shoot. Talked about,
Can you go to that slide, the one that has the, not that one, the next one? So I've actually worked with a company that does pet sitting, and they've been in business for 13 years. And one of the things that I was trying to get across to her was pricing. And a lot of what she was doing with pricing was looking at what the market charged, but she really wasn't taking into account like all of her expenses.
Okay.
So, $80 a day, I think, is that the price point that you had mentioned.
right.
So, that $80 a day, there's a lot that goes into that day, right? You have to market it. You have to have an intake conversation. Maybe those people want to come and tour the location, then you have to care for the thing. And you have staffing. And so I would be curious to understand like that you've thought through all of that, and how many, trainings and how many, dog sitting clients would you need at that price point to turn a profit? And maybe you have that number somewhere.
Right. When we did the math, I know that we broke down to like 6 part-time, like we had our employees set up, but you're absolutely right. I haven't considered all those things, which is why I'm here, so I can learn.
I know I'm online. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you and give you some kind of insights on, the different things that I worked with that person with. Because again, they were in business for 13 years,
Right,
but they were basically working all the time
right,
and not making enough money to make it worth it. And so she was trying to scale, but she couldn't, right? Even when she was trying to get staff. So yeah, I will
I
get my
appreciate
information.
that. I'm gonna take you up on that, Allison. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That actually was one of my thoughts too at this, when you were saying that it's 24 hours a day and I can drop my dog off at 2 a.m. before I head to the airport. Somebody has to work overnight.
Mhm.
I'm guessing that most overnight gets paid more than daytime, because who wants to work overnight? So will the drop off at night be more expensive? And is that something that you want? So just making sure, and I see this now, because at first I was like, are you just working 24/7? Because it sounds great for the customers, but you also have to realize that there's somebody on the other end of that who's working those
absolutely.
hours.
Absolutely.
So
That's actually one of my main concerns with the labor shortage right now, because all the kennels that I visited, they can't find people to work in them. They're only paying $13 an hour, and they're not giving them any training, like on dog behavior a lot. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's limited training, right? And I kind of want to change that dynamic, or actually pay people a living wage, right? And also figure out a way to care for these animals where people would care for them at home.
and so to Allison's point, if you're going to pay a living wage, you may have to charge more.
Right. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and there could be, I'm sorry to jump in, like an idea popped into my head, like maybe it's like a live work situation, right? I don't know what the regulations on that are. I used to work in HR, so then employee labor laws kind of come into play, but like if it was a place where there was like room and board for the staff in some way too, right? There's a lot of different unique models out there these days, but you would really need to be careful about regulations and labor law and all those different things. But maybe that could make it more attractive, because again, if you're looking at part-time, like what a college student would they be really interested in that? Somebody that's going to vet school, for example.
Right.
Cody, I see you online, but I've got a few hands up here in the room first. So Beth.
So I was just thinking along the lines of what Allison just mentioned, if you're having problems finding real estate to build, to me, that seems like a really expensive way to get started and kind of set yourself into a hole to start. But if you could lease a house in a neighborhood that has space that you can use the outside and you have the live work situation as part of it, maybe you have rotations where you have people come through who live in the house, take care of the dogs, and they're, it's a family kind of thing, if you will, in terms of the staff there. Not living together, but they trade off, they work well together, they hand off easily so that dogs have a continuity of care kind of thing. The other thought that occurred to me is once you get it going and you show success, what about licensing something like this? So just a thought, or franchising it another way. So that's way down the road, but something to think about if you want to look at how you could grow.
Thank you.
Just on the presentation side, just clean it up a little bit. I stopped at 25 with the and just clean that up. And then the one thing that, you kept talking about the dog, how the dogs should be quiet. You might want to explain that just a little bit, because you could use that for a marketing pitch.
I was really nervous today, so I apologize.
It's all right.
And you're
It's
absolutely
just,
right.
it's just
I can
more,
totally
it's
see that.
just more maritime. I get it.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Chris.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to follow up on what Beth said a little bit. Back on the financial slides, I thought I saw at one point you're looking to raise about 1.8 million.
Yeah.
And then I saw like yearly profit, 150K.
Right.
I'm not sure how those numbers match up, so talking about what Beth had to say about, how is this going to be franchised or how it's going to grow? Because I don't know how someone who's going to give you almost $2 million sees a path to making their money out of that. So I just think a little more thought needs to be put into that, the financials of it and how that really makes sense over time.
Okay. I think that's really my weakness is the financial side.
Mhm.
And so being able to, I think my problem is being able to translate it, like to translate what we've come up with on the Excel spreadsheet or, like whatever program and be able to translate it. I'm not good at that nomenclature. So if are you available too? Because if you are, I
Here's
know
your
this
man
is
right
well. Are you available to help? I'll take you out to lunch. No, really, I'm quite naive. That's why I'm here. I need to learn. So
Well, and I thought,
appreciate-
Beth talking about, possibly instead of trying to build a facility, leasing a facility that already exists, that kind of thing, lowering your costs and lowering your initial
Brilliant.
need for money,
Right,
I think will make that equation look a lot better.
right. I think you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Make your,
So awesome.
make your mistakes on a small scale.
Don't go
Stuff
on
out there.
this.
Yeah.
And make your mistakes in the spreadsheet first. Make your financial mistakes in the spreadsheet. Cody, let's go to you.
Sure, I may have missed this. The backstory on Biscuit Bay. I heard you also say that you're baking biscuits. Is this a business already in operation for you?
No,
Okay. Because I thought if you were already making biscuits, it sounds like there may be even more opportunity in creating biscuits and doing something like that, because now you're not constrained to a geographic area for your market, and there's a lot more opportunity, on a broader scale. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, so Biscuit Bay, what's the origin of that branding for you?
my brain, it just, I actually
Okay.
just sat down and brainstormed like a whole bunch of names, and Biscuit Bay felt unique. It wasn't, I feel like it's something you'll remember, right?
Okay,
Biscuit Bay, you're not gonna forget it now.
all right, thank you.
Sally, right?
Yeah, I just want to say, everyone was pointing to Mike earlier because Mike is a consultant for the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
If you are not familiar, I work there as well.
In Greeley or,
We work for the Larimer one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there is a Weld County and Larimer County, but that's a really great place to get free and confidential consulting, free, always free consulting for a lot of different areas, every area that you're thinking of, marketing, financials, business planning, all of that stuff. So yeah, I would really encourage you to check that out and utilize some of those resources to make a really good plan and have people like Mike that'll really hone you in on what you need to focus on.
And I just gotta say thank you to Dr. Ma for inviting me here because like this feedback is phenomenal. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I really, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Mike here.
I just had one other thought about how you're presenting and marketing yourself, which is around the trust that you need to establish quickly with people, because you're not going to just give your pet to anyone off the street, right? So you already talked about the training part of it. I'm assuming there's some certifications and other things, you know, that maybe you could have your staff and yourself present as part of the package that says, here's why we are better, whatever you end up charging, the value proposition that you make relative to the trust they have in you needs to be established earlier. They'll just say, well, you know, what makes you different? Why should I trust you? And show me how you've established trust with other pet owners.
I didn't think about the trust issue. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you.
super important for
It is.
pet owners.
Thank
know.
you. Thank you.
A piece that I was thinking about that actually goes along with that is my friend's son just recently did an electrician training. He wasn't paid for it, but he didn't pay to do it either. And then basically that gives you an opportunity, like with these people, like your employees, that they can go through a training program where you train them how to care and handle for the dogs and work with the dogs so that you're not like just muzzling them to keep them from barking.
Not happen. In my facility, that won't happen.
Which is why you need to talk about that, because
Right.
you just said they'll be quiet now. It's like, how are you gonna do that, right? So talking about how you're gonna make them quiet, but you could do that where you don't pay them, but they don't get paid, and it's sort of like a internship and a probationary period where you can decide who you want to hire
Right.
and who you don't at the end of it.
I like that idea too.
So they're getting a training that they can take somewhere else, but it also gives you a chance to be like, is this somebody that I want to hire for my
Right.
facility?
Because it does take a specific person.
That would be something I would talk to the SBDC about because there's employment regulations around that kind of stuff too. You have to be careful of. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, James, we'll wrap us up here.
The thing that is always missing from these presentations in this type of format, what is the objective? What are you trying to get to? And who do you want to do this presentation for? So I make it a point to cover that right out of the box. That's one sentence. It doesn't take any time. And I can give you the reasons why, but everything that you said about residential, forget it. It is not going to work for a number of reasons.
I would love to explore those reasons with you too, because I want to know like what the pitfalls might be too, if I'm exploring different options. So if you have more feedback that we can do offline, I would genuinely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, grab yourself a second cup of coffee, if there is more coffee.
Give myself a little.
Head your back to the marksman.
That's a great.
I want some too.
I spent my evening thinking about that, you know.
You're a child, you can do this, Jenny.
You know, yeah. This is rough.
Well, that's what I look at. That's what I look at.
You know,
If
I know, it's coming up. Yeah, we
sometimes
gotta
less
get
than
it.
often.
yeah, here's one. When she's sort of missed that part.
That's what it says.
Yeah, I know most of them.
I'm very Colorado Springs, so.
You always think
And so, all my kids in the gas stations. So I go anywhere, or even come this way. I don't play that.
Now,
What they're like to call projects.
See, and that's the thing. Yeah, Rock and Denver Tech Center, I was like, wow, that is so great.
Right, and our rationalization, our meetings with somebody. What is? So, for example,
business coaches, maybe a little bit of financial advice.
It's like a 60 for.
There's a bunch of areas to provide it, including the SNC,
So it's six, those 6 minutes. Jane, just one question for you.
Yeah,
You got
it
your
is.
2 slides here. Do you want me to show both of them? Start with one and end with the other one? Just show the first one?
But no, I'm glad.
Perfect.
But yeah, so.
It's definitely
All right, grab your seats.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Good area.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking, right? All right. Our next
I guess several
presenter,
different businesses that we've talked about.
Mike. Okay, our next presenter is a master magician, storyteller, and philosopher of the normal, paranormal, and imagined. She moved to Colorado Springs about 1.5 years ago, and she is launching her newest magical offering as we speak. Please welcome Jayne Perry.
So I gotta tell you, this is a business presentation, but I'm mostly a storyteller. So I'm gonna tell a story. You'll find the business stuff in the middle, okay? Just to be fair. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's terrible.
It's morning.
Okay, let me start at the beginning. I was born in New York's mystical Catskill Mountains, the son of a magician. It's okay, it's not really about that, but we'll keep going. Dad really was a magician. He learned from his uncle, he taught me, and I have children who have helped me with the show. 4 generations. The very first time I was on stage, I was 2 years old. You see, Dad was also a singer, and he was singing Me and My Shadow. I was the shadow. I learned something important that day. The thing that I learned is that people applauded and they laughed, and I loved making them happy and helping them escape from daily life. Okay, I was 2, but what I did remember was that I had a good time, and that so did the others. Over the years, Dad and I worked on the show together. We did all kinds of magic in all kinds of places. I have to say that Dad and I did not agree on a lot of things. We did not agree on religion. We did not agree on politics. We did not agree on gender or sexuality. But I love my dad a great deal. And he loved me. And so what we did is we just didn't talk about those subjects. My show is like that. I don't talk about gender or sexuality or politics or religion. That's not my job. My job is to help you escape a world that, let's be honest, sucks right now. That's the baddest word you'll hear me say. We all need an escape, and that's what I do. When I was very young, I was immersed in magic. You can imagine growing up in a magical family. And I always knew how it was done. I didn't always know what to do. I didn't always know why to do it. And so I immersed myself in magic. I read J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and I watched The Wizard of Oz. Remember The Wizard of Oz? Yeah. And I worked with Dad, and he apprenticed me. And I learned a lot of things. As a magician, I learned to keep secrets. I became very good at keeping secrets.
I also learned about how to make people smile, how to stand in front of a room, how to present a magic trick. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor while I keep going here. Could you just blow this up? Take your time. I did ask you ahead of time because we are in a litigious society and people are. One more. I'm on a clock. That's the most abusive thing you'll hear me say all day. Do me a quick
No pressure, Jim.
That's good. And tie that. For those of you who grew up when I did in the 17th century, you might remember Mr. Wizard. The rest of you know Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I always have somebody tie the balloon because people think there's tape on it. There's no tape. I should point out that this does not always work. It's gonna go wrong. This is gonna be it.
Ooh, check that out. Wow. Wow.
Dad passed at a very young age. He was 54. And we had always dreamed of doing magic full time. And so after about 25 years in the computer industry, it was more than that, but I don't want to admit it anymore. I decided that I was going to do what Dad and I always wanted to do, which is do magic full time. I performed as Jim Perry magic in the Northeast and in the Midwest, and I did it for years. Became a problem. I was hiding who I was, and I don't really believe that magic is about fooling people. Fooling people just insults them. I believe magic is the collaboration. I believe that you and I should together create a world, a wonder, a place to escape to. And so lying about who I was a problem. So I closed the show. I wrote a whole brand new show, and the show featured Jayne. And instead of doing top hat magic, you know, the box and the stuff that comes out of the box and the people and whatever, and the silly jokes and the volunteers, I wrote shows that were associated with strange tales. I'm a transgender person. I hope that's not a problem for you, but I understand if it is. But I'm mostly a magician. I do shows in nightclubs. I do shows on stage. I'll tell you about Denver Fringe because somebody will ask. Maybe you. And I'm an MC and I do walk around. I do it all over. You asked me this morning about the 2-hour trip up. This is the walk in a park, 6-8 hour drive, put up the show, sit around till the show starts, shut down the show and drive home is normal for me. My main audience is banquets, but I also do clubs. I'm a magician. My job's to help you escape. And I'm open to questions. This is where you clap. Can I answer?
Well, nicely done. That was 6:15. Any questions?
What do you got?
Practice one. How much feedback do you want?
That's a great question. So we do this a little different in Colorado Springs. Somebody asked that question in the end. Here's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for what's different about the Rockies in this part of the country and post-COVID and what people are looking for in terms of an entertainer for their businesses, because my main business is corporate. But I'm also looking for something we can talk about afterwards, which is local stories of strange tales or unusual events, so that I can bring my show from some philosophical nothing to hit home. And if you want to talk about that, we talk about it today. If you'd like to take a card and talk to me later, that's fine. So what I'm looking for really is an idea of what's the scene? What are you guys looking for now that COVID is over? Because, when I closed the show, COVID started and I moved here in the middle. We moved sight unseen into a 2,100 square foot house. Okay, it was great. So really, any questions that you have at all? Any suggestions you have at all? Yes, ma'am.
There's a place, we were just there talking to the person who manages it called The Lyric.
Okay.
And it's a combination, but it's a very eclectic, interesting venue here in Fort Collins. And they work with lots of different musicians, different acts. They have, movies showing Top Gun right now. They've got all different kinds of things going on. And I almost wonder if getting connected with somebody over there will give you a sense of, because I'm new here to Fort Collins, I've only been here a little while, of what the landscape is here in terms of where you could.
I love it. And
fit in.
this is called The Lyric.
Yeah, it's called The Lyric. It's right on College Avenue.
So one of the really unique things about what I do is that those shows are so crucially important to the development of the business. They are not profitable. Okay. But what they do is they put you in front of people, they give you an opportunity to talk to corporations, which is really where the business side of this comes from. But more importantly, they're just fun.
I mean,
That's a great idea. I would love to think about that.
Give me your card, I'll introduce you.
I promise you, I will give out whatever card you like.
They never sit together, but they're actually together.
My spouse is
Decades, that's why we're far apart.
my spouse is a higher ed dean, so I know all about it.
Okay.
What else can I answer?
What are you doing with the corporate trainings?
Corporate training?
Or not trainings, but your corporate.
So that's a great question. So corporate magic, there's really the top hat stuff. Once in a while, a corporation, I want to do something really, really unusual. And I hesitate to call it a seance because a seance is a religious event. Okay. I don't do religious events. I'm an entertainer. But I will use the form being very clear that it's entertainment. And so for a group this size, we could have a heck of a time and you'll laugh and you'll cry. And we'll have a really good time. But primarily what I would do is stand-up magic. I would come out, I would do some things just like the balloon. But mostly I would get your folks up and they would come on stage and they would be part of it. And I'm a firm believer, too many magicians make fun of people. You just bore the biggest brunt of how mean I am. Okay.
I'm meaner than that.
I have no interest in upsetting people. I have a lot of interest in having people help each other. And so it tends to be, I've done Tyson Foods, but I've also done construction companies, with 100 employees. So that's the primary part of the business.
So I think what my question is what is the need that you're filling so that it's not just that's a nice to have? Like,
Sure.
What's your value?
So my main proposition is team building, a chance to get away, a chance to have a shared experience. Okay. I also have extensive corporate experience. I worked for a multinational company that makes computers, wears blue suits, you've heard of them, for 25 years. So I have some idea what it's like to be on the inside. I do also have a handful of business offerings that are being created, but it's not really something I would feel comfortable pitching now. I also think that the consulting marketplace is saturated right now. And it is very difficult to tell who's got a lot of experience and who doesn't. And so until I can find the right way to pitch that and the right content, I don't want to compete in that space.
One of the things that, those are great though. Go ahead.
Wait, Beth, there's other people too. James, you have something?
Do you ever suggest to your corporate clients where they should have their events?
That's a great question. And generally by the time I'm contacted, the answer is no. Okay, so there's two ways basically you get hired. There's three ways you get hired. You get hired via internet booking agencies. You get hired with local booking agencies. I only really relaunched in February, so I'm not hooked into that yet. Or they find you on the web and they come talk to you. By that time, they usually have a venue. I also do a lot of direct marketing, right? Because that's the only way to meet people. But usually when you direct market something like a magic show, something you don't need every day, you say, this is who I am. This is what I can do. Do you have any questions? And then you get called 6 months later when there's an event.
Okay.
to answer your other question about, what do you want as an audience? I want interesting places.
Yeah,
If you did a corporate event in this room, I'm bored the minute I walk.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And, if we were to look at the plan is immersive. Right, the 5-year plan is do a lot more immersive things, take people to places, but you have to have a name before you can do that.
Got Allison online here.
Hi, Allison. Here's she is.
Hi there, Jane. A couple of thoughts that came to mind for me with regards to kind of getting into the corporate space is maybe reaching out to the Association for Training and Development, ASTD.
Okay.
You'll find, HR professionals, people that are responsible for training and, just different kinds of corporate events. That might be a place that you can plug into. And those organizations, there's just so much more focus on diversity and inclusion and things of that nature in the corporate world. So that could be a good place. And then also trying to get networked in with SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management. So that's the other place where you would find the HR people that are maybe trying to put on different corporate events. And and there's a lot of really cool, fun places that are artistic down in like the Denver area. I think it's just a matter of doing a little research deeper than you normally would go, right? Like get into the dancing scene, and those people know where all the cool, fun things are. So those are just some suggestions on where you might be able to get connected in with the people that could bring you into those corporate events.
I absolutely agree. And in fact, my very first step in that direction was Denver Fringe. Anybody familiar with Fringe festivals? So Denver Fringe is the end of the month. I have same show 2 nights there. This is my only pitch I'm going to make. I'm sorry. It's called Strange Tales of Love and Devotions. It's about being in love. It's about falling out of love. It's about family love. It's about revenge. It's about some not so nice things. None of it's dirty or anything like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to tell stories, and we're going to do experiments in magic that demonstrate those stories. So if you're looking for something to do at the end of the month, it's June 24th, 25th. And to Allison's point, that put me in contact with places like the Mercury Cafe and other artists down there. And so I absolutely agree. There's a great market in Denver, and there's a great art scene, as there is in Colorado Springs. A lot of folks don't realize how much art there is in Colorado Springs and Manitou. So I do appreciate that thought. And thank you for reinforcing that with me.
All right, Beth, bring us home.
So one of the things that, in terms of the storytelling, I think one of the things that would be really powerful for you is to include the fact that you are trying to help pull teams together. And I think that you do it in a really unique and different way. And I think post-COVID, employees and companies are looking at the world totally different.
Yeah.
We hear about remote work, but they're bored with all this stuff. I mean, James gave you a great example. I walk in the room, I'm bored. How are you going to be special? So I think you could incorporate something like that into your storytelling in some sense that's related to the audience you want to bring in or want to attract.
That's a great point, and I will certainly start to think about that. But the other nice part of what you just said is, we're still, how many of us are remote? Anybody remote still, having remote employees, work with remote folks? One of the things that makes magic a little different is that I can do Zoom. And there's a lot of great magic for Zoom.
All right, so Jane, give us one last magic trick.
Okay, so let's talk about strange tales. This is a strange tale. This actually happened to me. You're laughing already. I was at a show. I was supposed to do a magic trick. I was supposed to do a trick with cards. The problem was I couldn't find my cards. And I felt a tap on my shoulder. And then I felt a strong hand on my shoulder. But before we go any further, let me be clear. Dad did pass away a long time ago, and I believe in my heart that he's watching over me, that he comes to every show. And so I won't say this was Dad. I'm not that kind of wise. But I heard a voice, and the voice says, use an invisible deck. An invisible deck. What do I got to lose? So I reached up in the air like this, and I grabbed the invisible deck. Do you see the invisible deck? It's supposed to be coffee this morning. I'm gonna, can I, you have a pride shirt on. It's a great shirt, by the way. Can I ask a favor? I'm gonna ask you to catch the deck. Can you catch the deck? Here we go. Super. Now I want you to take the deck out of the pack. Must have been in the pack or there'd be an invisible mess. I didn't write that one. Turn to anybody you want and ask them to pick a card. You're looking at the card, you have to know the suit. So spades, clubs, hearts, diamonds, and you have to know the value. Ace one, ace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, king, queen, ace. You know those? Okay, take the card and put it upside down in the deck. You're sure it's upside down, right? Yeah. Put the cards back in the deck. Throw it back up here. I played Little League.
Better catch them up.
At this point, I hear another voice. The cards are on the table the whole time. Do me a favor, before I open this, can you tell me the suit and the value of your card?
7 of diamonds.
The 7 of diamonds, you sure? That's interesting. It turns out that in this deck of cards, all of which are facing you, there's only one that's upside down. And it is the 7 of diamonds. Thank you all. You've been a great group to work with, and I'm happy to speak to anybody afterwards.
All right, thank you so much, Jayne. That was awesome. So to wrap us up today, who has a win? Who has a resource that we need to know about? Or who needs help? Beth.
We have a win. We had our second meeting with the county and they're gonna help us get into other places because they really like what we're doing. So
Woohoo!
I will win. So I took this email class yesterday. Well, last night I got an email from Denny Atsuga. Most of you know Denny, and I think Denny's on it. And so I answered it this morning. Good morning, comma, Denny,
That has always bothered me. Thanks for fixing that, Jayne.
Just 7 people at a time.
Yes, thank you for fixing the world 7 people at a time. Commas save lives.
Denny wasn't supposed to email you last night after our class, remember? We were not supposed to do email.
Well, I think it was late because I didn't see it till.
It's technically 12:01. Yeah.
Who else has a win or a resource or needs help? Oh, Denny.
Yeah, I also took an excellent email writing course yesterday. And, I usually get email from Mike, like, yeah, Monday and Friday, Wednesday and Friday. I was greeted with a very warm good morning, comma, Denny, comma. So it was really great. It made my morning. It felt like I was welcome to interact with my person.
Good. I'm glad that you're doing the world. 7 people at a time. And I think
I had a win. That was it.
And
a lot of people came to my email.
and the
box.
request. Request for connections to CEOs. I'm sure somebody in here knows that.
Oh, like what we were trying to say.
Yeah.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know me, Jenny Morse, my company Appendix Inc. does business writing training and consulting. And so I had an email class with the SBDC. Thank you, Sally, for coordinating the training yesterday, and lots of 1 Million Cups people were there, as well as some new folks. I do have more trainings with the SBDC coming up. So July 14th, we have a class on listening, and August 16th, we have a class on planning 7 questions to ask yourself before you write anything. So hopefully I'll see more people at those sessions. And then separately, because I do corporate training, like Jayne was talking about this morning, if you know any people who are, CEOs or running companies, I would like to find out how they find their training, because I keep trying to make connections. And as many of you know, I have lots of requests that come in. I have not yet figured out a path to go out and find people. So if there are CEOs I can talk to just about like where they look, so I can figure out some of my marketing strategy, that would be helpful.
So I think Allison's suggestion of ASTD and SHRM, SHRM, are
Yes.
resources that you should tap into.
I
as well.
already have
Great.
connections. Perfect. Thank
Because
you.
they're the ones that get delegated to do that stuff.
Yes, they do.
I have a resource for those who are interested in financial updates. Like we're doing a massive market update on June 23rd. So anybody who's looked at all the red in their portfolio, feel free to hit me up, tell you what's going on, what the pros are doing.
Sally.
Tomorrow night, the SBDC has our Show Me the Money panel from 4 to 6 on campus. And it's, if you've never been to it, we have some financial professionals that will answer questions about different needs. Are you looking to start a business, expand your business, whatever you need money for? So we'll have the first portion is Q&A, and then the second portion is kind of speed dating. You get to talk to these people individually and about your plan and things like that. So that's tomorrow night. We have the first portion of it is going to be hybrid. So if you just want to hop on and listen to the first portion of the panel, you can do that. Otherwise, it'll be in person on campus, and we have light snacks.
I just give a shout out to Jenny. That email class yesterday saved me a lot of embarrassing emails.
Yeah. I think we have to run it again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, apparently. we
And I
just
mean,
needed-
seriously, go to the other two. That's well worth.
We just needed the testimonials to get people to go.
Right.
Now I have a little FOMO. James.
Got a resource for anybody who's interested in making money. I heard a guy yesterday, his name's Dave Parker. He wrote a book called Trajectory Startup. It's about product market fit. And not being a financial guy, like having the formulas that say, when you do this and this equals this, very helpful. He just put it out, said there's 14 kinds of revenue models. Decide which one you are, and then here are the rules. And it was really well done. So
That's
I haven't read the book, but I heard him speak.
Oh, okay. So what was the book called?
It's called Trajectory Startup, Ideation Product Market Fit. So I'm going to work with him on the name of this next book.
Yeah. Please do.
Allison. Oh, I can barely see your hand in your background. Thanks, Chris.
I have a couple of free events coming up in my digital community. We've got one on June 30th about really just kind of enhancing your networking skills. So I know all of you are probably really great expert networkers, but if you want to brush up on your skills and network with some people, or if you know anybody that could use help with networking, June 30th is that event. And then we have a networking event on July 12th. Both of those are free, and you can go to getsoulfulsuccess.com to check out the details and register.
All right. Any last minute wins, requests for help, or resources that we need to know about? Okay. Well then, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.